we get paid. That is so wrong. Most of us, by the way, tell the clerk to withhold our pay. But if we don't, we get paid while our staffs don't, while the TSA doesn't, while the military, like it's just really wrong.
You want to know the single most disgusting fact about this government shutdown? It's not the budget squabble. It's not the partisan fighting. It is this. Your elected representative is still collecting a six-figure salary while our brave men and women in the military, our TSA agents, and vital government staff are working right now for free. That's not just wrong, it's a moral disgrace that proves the D.C. swamp is fundamentally broken. I'm going to show you the clip where they admit this outrage, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what this failure of leadership means for American taxpayers. If you're a patriot who believes in accountability, hit that like button right now and subscribe, because the mainstream media will not give you this hard truth.
Potentially going to see here the longest federal shutdown in history. We're not there quite yet, but we might be careening towards it. Congressman Peters, I want to ask you first, the conversation for Democrats in the House, what are you hearing? Is there an off-ramp here that you can see?
Well, it's a very frustrating time, and it's different from any other. This is my third big shutdown. I've been through 44 continuing resolutions. I mean, that's not something to be proud of. All of them were bipartisan. And it's different now because there's no conversations going on. President Trump, if I were the president, I'm not the president, he needs 7 Democratic votes in the Senate. I'd have reached out well before September 30th and started to say, what do I need to get those 7 votes? Because as an elected official, you can never assume a vote. That didn't happen until the day before. There wasn't even a meeting. I don't even think President Trump met Hakeem Jeffries until the day before the deadline. And there was no substantive discussion going on. And now we're into this shutdown where nothing's happening. And the Speaker of the House has actually sent us all home. He won't let us come to work, even though we're all being paid. And our staffs are all working. By the way, they're working with no pay. I just think that's ridiculous. In the previous shutdowns, we weren't allowed to go home. We had to stay there. They would schedule votes every day, so you had to be there. They would not let you fly home on your government expense. And so we were talking constantly about how to resolve this. And that's what we should be doing now. I don't think the president should be in Asia now. I think the president should be in Washington, D.C. When under the shutdown under President Obama, citizen Trump said a shutdown was a sign of a weak president. And I think we have a president that's disengaged at a time we need to have discussions. The 7 weeks we were supposed to get with this short-term continuing resolution was time we were going to use to negotiate the budget. Why aren't we negotiating the budget now? There's just no reason for it.
So, Senator,
and these talks aren't happening, and I think that they need to.
Senator Curtis, I want to ask you to respond to 2 things that your friend here just said. First, what is your message to President Trump? Should he get more engaged here?
Yeah, so yes and no. So the president doesn't have a vote, right? Like, we talk all the time about Congress taking back more from the executive branch, and then here we are leaning on the executive branch to solve our problems. So there's a big part of me that wants to say we can do this ourselves, right? Like, this is,
and yet so much of what Congress has done has been directed by the president.
Yeah, so this is our chance, right? Okay. Like, let's step up. Representative Peters is exactly right. We don't get out of this unless there's approximately 7 Democrats that are persuaded to vote for us. Why? And I agree with him. Like, listen, I love Mike Johnson. He is to me rock solid, but we need to get Congress back, right?
Yeah. What is your message? I mean, what we talked about, some of the differences between past shutdowns. One glaring difference is the House isn't here.
So this is I think Scott will agree. This is the strangest shutdown like ever, right? Like, it's opposite day in so many ways. And he's right. I mean, I remember sitting in my office day after day after day. That brings motivation, right, to solve this. We get paid. That is so wrong. Most of us, by the way, tell the clerk to withhold our pay. But if we don't, we get paid while our staffs don't, while the TSA doesn't, while the military, like, it's just really wrong. So if it were up to me, we would be here. We would be pounding it out. We would find that consensus. We would open up the government and do exactly what the American people expect us to do.
So what's your message to Speaker Mike Johnson?
So listen, look, Speaker Johnson, I love you. I love what you've done, but it's time to come back to work.
Welcome back, Patriots. We're diving deep into the hypocrisy of Washington, and I'm going to focus on a C-SPAN interview between Senator John Curtis, a Utah Republican, and Congressman Scott Peters, a California Democrat. Now, when a Republican and a Democrat agree on something, you know it's bad. And here's what they agreed on. The way Congress handles its own paychecks during a shutdown is an absolute, undeniable scandal. Senator Curtis made it absolutely clear. We get paid. That is so wrong. He went on to specify that members of Congress are paid while their own staff, TSA agents, and the military are not. Now, many good Republicans, including Curtis, say they withhold their pay, but the fact remains that under the rules they wrote, they are legally entitled to their check. This is money that comes straight from your pocket. We are funding their ability to go home and vacation while the people who protect our borders and keep our airports secure are worried about their next meal. This is a foundational betrayal of public trust. When you fail to execute your most basic duty, which is to pass a budget to, should not be rewarded with a paycheck. Period. A real patriot understands that public service is sacrifice, not a guaranteed salary, especially during a self-inflicted crisis. But the outrage doesn't stop there. The conversation also highlighted the collapse of any meaningful effort to actually solve the problem. Congressman Peters stated that this shutdown is different from all others because there's no conversations going on. He is right. We have a House that was literally sent home by the Speaker. Senator Curtis called this the strangest shutdown ever because it removed the motivation to solve it. In past shutdowns, politicians were forced to stay in D.C. and vote every day. They felt the pressure. This time, they dispersed. This is a classic example of D.C. leadership failing to lead. When you are paid by the American people to do a job, you do not pack up and go home in the middle of a crisis. This is a fundamental dereliction of duty, and the American people need to demand that the House be brought back to Washington immediately to finish the job. Now, Senator Curtis offered the only conservative, common-sense way out of this mess. He said that Congress needs to stop leaning on the executive branch to solve our problem. This is a key point. We, as conservatives, demand that Congress reclaim its constitutional power from the executive branch. This shutdown is their chance to do it. They must find the 7 Democrats needed to pass a responsible funding bill and secure our borders. They have to stop waiting for a president to ride in and save them. This is on the shoulders of Congress. They were elected to represent you, the citizen, and they are failing you at this most basic level. The bottom line is that the self-inflicted wound of this shutdown is being felt most acutely by the men and women who serve our country, not by the millionaires who created the crisis. We must demand 2 things now. First, Congress must return to D.C. and negotiate a budget that is fiscally responsible and secures our nation. Second, there must be a permanent law change that mandates that Congress cannot be paid during a government shutdown. Until that happens, we are simply funding a swamp that is actively working against the interests of the American people. If you are just as furious as I am about Congress collecting their pay while our troops go unpaid, I want you to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, share this video. Send it to your friends, send it to your family. We need to amplify this outrage and force accountability in Washington. And tell me in the comments below, should Congress be forced to go without pay during a shutdown? Let me know your thoughts. Until next time, stay strong, and God bless America.